Okay, and hey, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with crank.com and with that metalstation.com. And today I'm getting to have a chat with Tommy Concrete, legendary metal musician. I can put that in there, man. 30 years, bloody, you've been putting down. You deserve that title. He's played in a ton of bloody bands. Also served with one of my all-time favorite punk bands, The Exploited, there as well. Played guitar for a little bit, so that's pretty cool. And you're due to release your ninth solo album, Hexenzirkel, June 25th as well, man.
Yeah, we're getting close to it. Getting close. Done really well on the pre-orders. We got rid of a third of them already.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
So, yeah, it's one of them things. It's like ninth solo album. People suddenly start taking notice at album 9, but there you go.
Yeah, and it's a ripping album. Like it just takes you on an amazing journey as well. The songs, each song on its own, it just takes you away. And I put it on today, and it was just like really good. Something I kind of needed at the moment as well.
Great. Oh, it's good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, and it's definitely an escape.
Yeah, and you've been so busy. You had the Orkmage album like back in December of 2020, and then you've dropped this one as well, which is June 25th. So I dare say you would have been fairly busy through COVID as well, trying to make the best of the time you've got at home, eh?
Yeah, well, I mean, I started my new job on the very first day of lockdown, and I was sent home with full pay. It's like, hi, bye. I was like, right. And I promised I wasn't going to do any more solo music because I've got a live band called Tommy Concrete and the Werewolves. And we were set to do our second album, like no more solo stuff. And then, of course, we couldn't even practice. So started making Hexenzirkel. And then I've got a lot of guest people singing on it. And they couldn't make it. So I'd done everything that I needed to do. So I thought, fuck it, I'll start another album. So that was Orkmage. So I just did another one. Because that was how I dealt with last year, by just working and recording and putting everything I was feeling into music. Because I knew I've always my whole life had a phobia of the apocalypse. Yeah. And of like society breaking down, like a terror of it. And then I'm like, fuck, it's going on. So I was like, if I allow myself 5 minutes to think about this, I'll fucking lose it. So I didn't allow myself 5 minutes to think about it, basically.
Yeah, and just dove into a lot of work and got really creative, which was good to see.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about? Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about the songwriting process? You probably would have been busy the whole time with all of this, eh?
Well, Hexenzirkel was strange. There's 6 songs on it.
Yeah,
and I've got six guitars, and they're all in different tunings. So I wrote a song on each guitar, in each tuning, in each like style of that guitar. And then I put all the other guitars on all the other songs. So I've got lots and lots of different genres happening simultaneously. And then I sort of cut and pasted and edited it out to make the best bits come forward and go behind. So it was almost like sculpture of it. Difficult. You get points where you get to it and then you're like, this is fucking shit, and so you start again, but from where you'd left off before, which is like a little bit better point. So it was a long and a weird process, but I had the time.
And did you record it all yourself as well, or?
I recorded all the guitars, everything apart from the vocals I recorded sitting here. Then I took it into Ramage, into his studio. We used the same software, except for his studio is like fucking Star Trek quality, and mine's not. And uploaded it into his stuff and got all it produced, recorded all the vocals with him. The other people that sang on it, they were recorded in a variety of different places. Some people recorded at their home studio, sent me it. There's a legendary Scottish venue called Bannerman's Bar in Edinburgh. And it's like vaults. It's like half underground. I recorded some of the vocals in that.
Nice.
Then it was quite weird. So it was it was pieced together.
Yep.
And it was nightmarish, but I think that comes through. It was a nightmarish year, so
Yeah, it was a nightmarish year, but you did, as you just mentioned, you had some really cool guests on there as well. And I'm big on, when I do things like this, I've got to go back and check out the bands as well. And I'm sure people that are listening to Tommy Concrete as well, and when they get this Hexenzirkel and they're like, oh yeah, I've got to go check that band as well. Yeah. Did you want to go through some of the guests you had on the album as well?
We've got Laura from Kingwitch.
Yep.
And she sang on a previous album with me before, and I've known her for absolutely years. In previous bands, she was in Firebrand Super Rock. And she's just one of these people that was born to be brilliant at what she does. And I seen her when I think she was school age in a horrific version of, I think, Welcome to the Jungle in a pub gig. But it was like clear, fucking hell, she's going to be good. And so she's on it. And then we've got Jenny from Juniper Grave, who I don't think they're going anymore now. But they were a brilliant sort of like witch rock sort of thing, like sort of like Chet's Tough or you know, that sort of like really occult 70s rock. And she's on it. She's like really good. Really brings a different vibe to it. But Michael Branner, who is in loads of bands. He was in Warrior Soul for quite a while, been in a lot of indie rock bands like Degrassi and what have you in the UK, plays in the Werewolves with me. We've got Jam, who's a punk legend. He's on bass in the Werewolves and he sings for Critical, amongst other things. And got Ramage, who produced it, and he's sort of like doubles up as my vocal tutor sometimes as well. You should do it this way. Well, you fucking do it, and you sing on the album. So yeah, lots of people on it, but it's weird because this isn't the original choices that I had. But a lot of people couldn't record at home, or didn't want to do it, or didn't want to meet up and do weird recording in underground venues. So it ended up with the people that who they themselves saw that being involved in an album like this was their way out of coping with last year. So everyone's got something together in terms of how they've approached the project, you know, which has made it different and better in a way, I think.
Yeah, it's got a great sound, dude. I want to ask about this track, The Blind Man Shines Light on the Torch. I was digging that track, man.
Yeah. That's that's my mate of mine, known him for years, Matt. He's a fact checker, sort of by tradition, is blind. And his social media is the funniest fucking thing ever, because it's just arguing with idiots all day. He'll put something up and then it's like, oh, flat earth, but Bill Gates, fucking 5G and all this. And he's just shooting people down all day. And I can't get involved because it's too annoying, but it's immensely entertaining. And it was like, oh, I thought about the saying, in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed are kings. And I thought, there must be a way to like turn that into what he does. So it was like, you know, the blind man shines light on the truth. You know, he's telling everyone what's going on, and everyone's going, you fucking don't know what you're talking about. And his favorite song of all time is Deep Purple, Child in Time, which talks about the blind man and stuff. Oh, that's a good fucking. And I've always wanted to do a song about the blind man anyway, like as a trope. So yeah, it came about like that.
That's pretty cool. And another thing about your music, I was going like checking out this album and all the other albums you got, the solo stuff. It really is an amalgam of all these different influences. It's really hard to pick down, but I think that's kind of the way you like it as well, though, isn't it? Because it creates this unique sound that's uniquely yours as well.
Yeah, well, well, thanks. I mean, it is tricky. I mean, one of the things that's my music has tended to be related to whatever band I'm in at the time.
Okay.
Like say when I was playing in Jackal-Headed Guard, the Dead, they were a doom band, so I'm not really doing any doom in my solo stuff, but learning doom as a skill. And so then, you know, how can I explain it? Like when I was in The Exploited, I was playing in Jackal-Headed Guard, the Dead at the same time. So I was playing in a band that was mental fast and a band that was mental slow. You know, and all my practice was based on those two things. So from my perspective, my world was filled with all of that. these two things combined. So sometimes I find it quite difficult to separate.
Yep.
Or this is the punk head, or this is my doom head, or this is the trad metal thing. It's all just tends to blend in. It's difficult to try and focus it in a way that somebody on the outside looking in can like click with it and go, right, that's what he's all about.
There we go. As we come back, yeah, man, it's I do gotta find out though, what's it like over in Scotland? How's it been? Like, when did you start working on this album, and were you in total lockdown through it all, and did the live scene suffer a fair bit? Was it the same there? The live industry shut down as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, the lockdown's been worse in some cities than others. I'm in Edinburgh, and it's not been too bad. Glasgow's was really bad, and it still is. They're on a higher level than anyone else. For the most part, in Edinburgh, people have been quite sensible about it. The live music is just starting up again.
Okay.
We've got pubs open, and you've got to book a table. So if you go to the pub, you book a 2-hour spot, and then you turn up, and there's no music allowed. So everything's quiet, because if you've got music playing, people talk loudly and project. Yeah. So it's quite weird. You go to the pub, it's only for 2 hours, and everything's quite quiet, and everyone's really distanced apart. It's all right. I can get with it. We've got a gig on July the 24th, which I'm really hoping happens, but it might not.
Yeah,
because it's in Glasgow, and they're going backwards rather than going forwards.
Okay, that's not good, man, because a lot of artists I've noticed have been suffering. So when you were saying that the album has actually been doing well for you, that's really good to see, because everyone's getting out there and snapping up an album, because I know artists and the whole industry have suffered through this, not only over there in Scotland but worldwide. It's the same here in Australia. A lot of artists have suffered without having that whole live industry behind you, because it is an industry behind the live scene. It's not just the bands that get up there and play.
Yeah, well, I mean, from my personal experience, I've done my best year in terms of merch and sales, by far. Like, the amount of stuff I've been selling. There's so much more people sitting at home listening to music, and maybe some of the nature of some of my music being it's not quite for the short attention span, but people have got the time to actually sit and get into albums now, and they actually want to get into something that's a bit bigger. So maybe I've been benefiting from that. The people that really suffer, that I really feel sorry for, is the as opposed to musicians, the actual skilled people, such as sound engineers, lighting techs, and then all the door staff, people who work behind the bar, all that. These people, they have to work.
Yeah, it was the same. It was the same here in Australia. I had a few mates who I know a lot of people who work behind the scenes, techs and sound engineers that lost a lot of their jobs. And on the point that people have been buying merch, it's really good to see, because I was the same. I was buying a lot of merch through 2020 because I couldn't go to any shows. So I'm like, well, fuck it. I can check out more albums. I can buy more merch. If I can't go to a show, I can still support the band and get behind them merch wise.
So I mean, it's the smaller bands have been all right. The bigger bands, the people who actually rely on it, they've had to make big decisions. Like, I think like the English band Anathema, they called it quits last year. They said, we can't actually survive, so we're stopping. Don't know whether they're going to get back together later, but some of the bigger acts have really suffered. Smaller ones have weirdly thrived, but the people that it's been hit the hardest is the actual staff,
Yeah, but I think a lot of that's to do with the streaming cycles too, maybe, because people are more likely to go fucking stream the music, and the bands are basically like, with a band album like Hexenzirkel, the fans are hardcore fans, so they'll buy the album, and with the smaller bands and guys like yourself in the underground scene that are doing amazing things. But with those bigger bands, they've got a whole fucking team behind them, I suppose, as well. And if they can't sell the albums because people are going to go stream it and shit, they can't go forward as well.
Yeah, I mean, you get people that are like the guitar techs and people that drive bands around and all these sort of stuff. I mean, streaming's fucking useless to them.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? It's a fucking joke. It's an absolute joke, and it does my head in. I do harp on about it, but for the scene to stay strong, people need to get behind artists and buy fucking albums, not just sit there and listen to it on Spotify and go, I support the band, I fucking listen to them on Spotify. It's like, do you fucking support the band?
Yeah. I mean, I've recently started to I realized I was listening to Spotify so much that I was actually listening to it only, and I'm like, fuck this. And then actually start playing CDs and stuff again, and it's like, fucking hell, you suddenly realize the quality is so shit on Spotify as well. Actually, because there was some, like the last couple of Motorhead albums, I got them on CD, but I didn't actually play them. I just went straight to streaming them, and I listened to Aftershock for the first time, like since buying it the other day. So it sounds fucking brilliant. Oh my god, can't believe I was punishing myself. So I'm like, right, I'm off this Spotify thing now. It's only headphones on the bus now.
Yeah,
albums and CDs again in the house.
That's it. You can't fuck with the quality of that. Are you doing vinyl for this one? I didn't check that out. Are you doing any vinyl or?
No, I mean, we'd like to, but it's I think the business plan is don't make many and sell them all.
Sell them all. Yeah.
I'd love to have it on vinyl, but it would mean that, I mean, I would have to be going out gigging.
Yeah. And it is cool though to see that resurgence of vinyl the last 10 years or so coming back as well. It's really good to see. And then you're talking about listening to albums. It's when you put a vinyl on, it's the same as a CD. You're listening to the whole album. And same with an album like Hexenzirkel, man. You want to listen to the whole album, and you want to go on a fucking journey when you put on the Tommy Concrete album. You know what I mean? Right from the start to the bloody end.
Yeah. I mean, I just bought the Amorphous box set, the last 10, at least 9 albums, and it's like I've heard those albums so many fucking times, but now finally having them all on vinyl. And it's the bizarre thing about, you put it on them when the side's finished, you turn it over, you don't zone off, you're engaged in the process. You have to keep getting up and turning it over. It seems like a weird thing, but it really, I've just been listening to them recently, and you're really more engaged in the experience, rather than just being something that's on in the background. It's on shuffle, it will go on permanently if you leave it,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's how I feel about vinyl too, because the artists, they make like yourself, they put a lot of effort into albums and track listings, and that's another thing those Spotify fucking streaming services do. They don't let people don't listen to whole albums, and they're forgetting the joy of, as you're saying, you're putting in your CD or whatever, your album, and you're listening to the whole bloody album, not just the one song that fucking has got more hits than anything else. It's the album, and there's a joy that you can't just fuck with it when you put on an album. When you first hear an album, I used to put something in, then I'd listen to it, then I'd listen to it again, and you know what I mean? You listen to it about half a dozen times, and then you're like, wait a sec, I finally get it. You're not going to get it on the first playthrough, but it takes a fair bit. And then when it drops, you're like, now I get it.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I remember back in the day, I would get albums, and the first play, I'm like, I don't like that. But because you'd spent money on it, I'm like, well, I'm going to get my money's worth out of it. And there was an English thrash band called Onslaught. I think it was their 4th album they brought out, and can't remember it. Can't remember the name of it. Anyway, I'll get berated for this later, but I thought it was shit. Played it 4, 5, 10 times, and then got to the point I'm like, this is really fucking good. Whereas if streaming, the attention span now, I wouldn't have even had a song, moved on, and then I would have missed out on that.
Yeah, and the platforms I do like that are doing is platforms like Bandcamp. I spend a lot of fucking money over on Bandcamp, because I know that's the one supporting the scene. And if people have to get a digital copy, then they can buy the album, support the band, support the scene, and then they can still listen to it on their phone, wherever the bloody hell they are as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but the really cool thing about Bandcamp is you can download it in lossless quality, so you can download it as FLAC.
Yeah,
which is like maximum quality. So it's not like, if you want a shitty MP3, that's cool, but you can have a perfect quality version of it as well, which is like, for somebody like an artist like me that spends a lot of time trying to make everything sound fucking
good.
just right, with hyper dense music, loads of things going on, it's really disheartening to think that it's going to be listened to on a phone at really shit quality off Spotify. So the fact that Bandcamp exists and people can get lossless quality is amazing. You know,
It is. They do a lot for that as well, and that's one I try and plug. Wise if people are going to go buy merch. Also, it's a good way because if you jump over to Bandcamp, you can hook up through your merch and everything like that as well. Have you got another website at all for that, or is it just through there?
Well, I've got my Tommy Concrete Bandcamp.
Yep.
But I've got like I used to run a label ages ago called Howling Invocations, and that's it's not active anymore.
Yeah.
But there's a Howling Invocations Bandcamp, and that has Tommy Concrete and the Werewolves, and another band I did called Psychotic Depression linked to it. So everything that I actually has physical media that you can buy is all linked to that.
Yep. So yeah, that's the best place people can get along and support you. Album art. Who done your album art?
Disco Beast. It's a friend of mine I've played in some bands with, and I actually had art for the album, and I was thought it was all right. And then I saw that he'd done, and I was like, right, I want that. That has to be it. That has to be it. And he did the artwork to some other stuff I've done in the past, but it just had that real. I was really at a loss to find an image that went with the music in my head. It wasn't working out, and then the minute I saw that one with the forest like demon thing, I was like, oh wow, that hit the spot. It's exactly what I was exactly the right mood in my head.
Yep.
It fits.
And I've got to ask about Tommy Concrete and the Werewolves. You're saying as well that you kind of, with everything that happened, and made it hard for you to get in and get another album done.
Yeah.
How are things going on that front? You just lockdown eased a bit, or it's still just bloody impossible at the moment?
We recorded a gig in Bannerman's Bar in December, but that never came out. The people that put it together, the drifting, but it was recorded, like footage, multi cameras. I just sometimes wonder if that band's cursed, because whenever we try and do something fucking a big like, no, it's not going to work. No, it won't work. Like, fuck. But yeah, we'll be 9 years old this year, despite millions of lineup changes and everything going wrong. But yeah, the second album's written. It's all done.
Yep. On
my computer. Just need to get everyone in the room and learn it. I mean, we had one practice before lockdown, and we got, I think, 4 songs done. So we've got a third of it started. Because we work quite quick. It's totally the opposite to my solo stuff. You know, as in like it's more somewhere between Exploited and Motorhead, with other types of that sort of thing in there. Yeah, so it's not going to be an absolute nightmare to learn. You know.
And have you been? I suppose, like I've spoken to a few guys through this time in 2020, and they've been like, as you said, you got the Tommy and the Concrete Werewolves album there, and have you been working on other stuff as well? Because I've spoken to a few guys, and they're like, dude, I've got this one, and I'm ready to go. Yeah. I've just been busy as hell through this time.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done my own solo stuff. The Werewolf stuff's on pause. There's not really much I can do on my own here. I got asked to do lead guitar on a project called More Death and Horror, which is there's an Edinburgh artist who gets sound effects of death and horror. There's like an electronic ambient artist, and he wanted to do a thrash metal album, but mixed with electronics. So quite like, I don't know if you've heard that Japanese band Melt Banana, but like with Celtic Frost, and quite quite weird, sufficiently weird, and he was like, asked me, do you want to play lead guitar on it? So I ended up putting the solos on it. And then this is why it's embarrassing that I didn't know the name of that Onslaught album. It was Jim who played bass on that album. Jim X Onslaught is on it. And that was a real buzz playing along, even though we never met, with someone who, like, it's really cool. In Search of Sanity, that's what it's called. Anyway, yeah, so, and now I'm going to sing it. Because we're going to get other people to sing it, but they couldn't do it. And I was speaking to John, who's put the project together, and like, shall I just sing it? I'll just do it because I'll get it done in a couple of days. So yeah, so that's another studio project, and that's really cool because that just happened out of nowhere. You know, it's like I think when you plan stuff, it can sometimes go a bit weird, but when you just suddenly find a project unraveling in front of you naturally, then sometimes they're the ones to go for.
Yeah,
you know, all right, yeah, I never thought I'd be doing that. Well, fucking hell, you know. And but it was quite interesting because it's again really different to Hexenzirkel, which is hyper dense, everything thought out, and all the solos are just how they should be, and all this one. And now it was like, right, it's 12 songs, 2 solos in every single one. What do you want to do? Copy Jeff Hanneman, every single one. Yes. You know what I mean? One take, next one. Worry about it. Next one.
Fuck yeah.
Total rush, you know. And it's like, oh, I really needed that. So it'll be interesting when that's finished.
Yeah, that must be fun for you to be able to jump into these different projects as well and kind of mix it up, especially after spending all that time making the Hexenzirkel album as well. Yeah. No, it was a good don't know what we could say, being pretentious, a good palate cleanser. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it really was, because I tied myself into a corner with musical theory and complex ideas and all that, and it was I've got a project, and you start to think, well, you know, where's the fun of it? You know, where's the rock and roll here?
yeah, and they're immensely long songs, and it's a great journey. So it would have been great to jump over and come back and do this, and and So you can't play live. I know that's going to be a shit. Well, are you thinking 2022 for maybe anything to really be stable? Because I know I'm seeing bands like, we've had the Australian scene kicking off, and we've been better than most of the world with everything. And we've had states, we've just had Victoria that's just shut down. So they've had, again, the industry has stopped again, and it kind of creates this stop starting, creates more of a fucking uneasiness for bands and venues as well. Yeah.
Well, we've got 3 gigs booked. We've got 1 in July and 2 in October, and I'll believe that they happen after they've happened. You know. At the moment, we've not even tackled the concept of how we're going to have a practice. You know, how we're going to get there, because the travel restrictions there was a while before, not long ago, we couldn't get from Edinburgh to Glasgow unless it was an emergency, and it's like, well, heavy metal emergency, you know, what's going on, like, and can the people get to? So I don't know. I'm not seriously thinking about booking gigs till next year. And these are gigs that we've been offered, so let's
take them, and see what happens. Have you had, how the venues handled? Because I know we've had a few metal and punk venues shut up here during this time as well, and it's kind of sad for the scene as someone who's like right into it as well, that these venues are shutting up, and they're not going to reopen these kind of venues. It's fucking makes it a little bit harder.
I mean, quite a few venues have gone. I mean, there's a venue in Liverpool called the Zanzibar, which was a place I played quite a few times when I lived in Liverpool, and that's gone. And that's like, it won't be coming back. It'll probably be bought up by somewhere corporate and turned into something shit. It's going to be interesting to see what survived. Because like I mentioned earlier, with Juniper Grave and Jenny singing on Hexenzirkel, I don't think they've survived as a band. You know, and there's a couple of other bands that haven't survived. some practice rooms that have gone, venues that have gone. So when the dust settles, it'll be interesting to see who's still standing, who wasn't affected, because our bass player Jam, he got COVID really bad, and he got the long COVID, and he was affected for months and months.
Oh, wow.
So it's and our drummer Brana, he had it as well. So it's like, some people are lucky to get unscathed, but at least we're still going and we're all alive.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah, that's it. And but metal crowds get a bum rap with all these venues closing and that. I think we kind of get singled out a little bit at times, but metal crowds and punk crowds are the best people out. I've been to that many metal shows, and you've played over 30 years and countless shows, and you'd be the same. The crowds are the best people in there, and the violence. There's next to, I can't remember any violent instance at any metal show I've been to, but you go over to one of these dance clubs that'll they don't have a problem putting on, or one of these USBJs, I call them, and it's fucking shit all over the place. Cunts are fucking snorting shit off each other's asses or whatever the fuck they're doing, and punching on, and the violence crazy as. But that seems to be okay. But you talk about putting on a metal show and people, you go up in arms about it. I really don't understand it. We had a punk venue up in the Sunshine Coast, which is copping grief from the local community, but they're bringing in decent people and money to all these eateries, and it's great crowds.
It's one of those weird things where it's the same over here. You would have like a venue, and you put those sort of gigs on, and you're guaranteed the more extreme the music, the less violent the audience. Like I used to work at Bannerman's and used to doing the door taking the money and that, and you knew you were going to be in for a really easy shift if it was like violent slam grindcore. You were going to have for the fucking easiest shift. It's going to be brilliant. Whereas if it was like indie pop, you're going to be people in your face all fucking night, and it was going to be fucking hell, And it's, like a mate of mine who did a lot of security work, he said the most violent gig he's ever worked was fucking Elton John.
That's pretty funny.
And he said it was just like middle-aged women pissed out their head, fighting and battering each other like all fucking night, getting poofed out. Like, fuck hell, give me Slayer any night.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. On that note, Tommy, I'm going to sign out, man. Let you get about the rest of your day. Dude, this has been an absolute pleasure to chat with you, man. Really, really bloody cool. Thank you very much for taking the time to have a chat with me.
Yeah, well, likewise, been brilliant, John. Thanks very much.
Oh, did you have any last words, shout outs, or thank yous you want to add in?
Go listen to King Witch if you've not already.
Yeah, cool. Everyone, go listen to King Witch, and while you're there, grab the Hexenzirkel album, put it in your stereo when it comes out on the 25th of June. Turn it up fucking loud so the neighbors can hear it. Make sure it's the album. Crank it up. Cheers, brother. Thank you very much. Have a lovely day. Cheers, mate.
Bye.